Hello, I am Mandana Dayani, and we are so excited to be here tonight with over 30,000 members of the Jewish community. And I have one of my dearest friends in the world sitting next to me, Emmy Rossum. I just want to thank so many of the iconic women leaders across the Jewish community who came together and rolled up their sleeves to pull this off with such an inspiring panel of speakers. We also want to thank Jewish Women for Kamala, Jewish Women for Kamala Harris Facebook group, and of course, JDCA PAC for their tech support.
Over the next 90 minutes, we will hear from strong leading Jewish voices about why they plan to vote for Kamala Harris in November. We will share why we are confident that Kamala Harris will protect our freedoms as Jewish women. When I think about what it means to me to be a Jew, it's values, ethics, morals, kindness, equality, a sense of community. It's about standing up for what's right, being unafraid to be who we are, and to reach for joy even in dark times. I was lucky enough to hear our second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, speak here in Los Angeles on Tuesday night. And he spoke with pride about being a Jew, about hosting the first Seder ever in the vice president's residence. And as our first gentleman, Doug Emhoff is committed to fighting anti-Semitism, not only domestically, but on the world stage. There is a lot at stake here, so let's get into it. To kick us off, we're handing it over to the amazing Susie Stern, one of the founders of Jewish Women for Kamala, to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you. We are thrilled to welcome thousands of Jewish women for Kamala and a few good men from every corner of this great country and around the globe, including our sisters and brothers in Israel, and we send them our love and strength. Our tradition is based on freedom, and that is what this campaign is all about: freedom to vote, to breathe clean air, to make decisions about our own bodies. My friends, that is why we gather tonight, to be part of this magnificent Harris-Walz campaign and its fight for freedom and for our future. We must all contribute in any way we can. We ask you, if you're able to contribute to this campaign financially, please use the QR code or the link that is in the chat, and this contribution will go directly to the Harris-Walz campaign. I know many of you on this Zoom have never made a political contribution in your life, but I want you to know that this campaign is fueled by first-time donors, and it is all of you who will ride this wave to victory straight to the White House. We'll have lots of suggestions on how you can get involved with the campaign right through the program. One thing is for certain: we all need to wake up on November 6th knowing we did absolutely everything we could do to win this election. So our planning team had some big dreams. A few days ago, our dream definitely came true when Barbara Streisand raised her hand and said, "Hineni, here am I." I've been listening to Barbara Streisand narrate her marvelous book, My Name is Barbara. There is a moment early in her career that her beloved friends, Marilyn Allen Bergman, describe what it takes to be a great singer. The head is intelligence. The heart is caring. The throat, well, that's the chops to sing from the throat. Well, you, Barbara Streisand, certainly proved their point with your breathtaking talent as an actor, a singer, a director, and an author. Talent acknowledged by your being an EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony winner. But you have also brought that intelligence, that head, that heart, and your powerful voice as an advocate for the environment, women's health, gun safety, and so much more. That advocacy was recognized last year when you were awarded Israel's Genesis Prize laureate, known as the Jewish Nobel, for your contributions to humanity and commitment to Jewish values. Your passionate activism and generosity have made this world a more caring, just, and beautiful place. Thank you for sharing your many gifts with all of us. We are, as you told us, the luckiest people in the world for having you in it. And now it is my great honor and thrill to welcome a true Jewish woman for Kamala, Barbara Streisand.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Where shall I start? Well, it's been said that Jewish women are known to speak out and tell you what they think, and I'm one of them. I'm so tired of hearing Trump put down America, saying, "Make America great again," because America has been great since 1776. and it's still great in 2024. I want a president who believes that we can do anything if we work together. And that's why I'm thrilled to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who have brought a new sense of optimism, energy, and excitement to this campaign. Kamala Harris is a terrific combination of both compassion and strength, a joyful warrior who will fight for the values that so many of us hold dear. She's been a consistent advocate for programs that promote gender equality, social justice, and voting rights, while Trump is telling his followers, after this election, you won't have to vote anymore. Can you imagine? In contrast, Kamala Harris understands just what a privilege it is to be able to vote, and her commitment to healthcare, social security, education, and to combating climate change are the policies of someone who cares about the future of our country, our children, and our planet, and not just the profits from big oil. Women are nurturers who take care of others and can think beyond themselves. But Trump, who cares only about himself, insults any woman who questions him, calling them nasty. I don't think he even respects women, because he appointed Supreme Court justices who took away a woman's right to control her own body after 50 years of having that freedom. I don't know of any equivalent law giving the government control over men's bodies. Clearly, in some people's eyes, women don't count. Oh, but we will in November when they count the votes. Anyway, I'm going to take a sip. Trump's pick for vice president believes women should stay at home, and he says that their careers are to blame for what he calls our nation's moral decline. But Vance's moral compass seems off, because he sees nothing wrong with his running mate, a convicted felon who talks about law and order, but doesn't think it applies to him. If Trump and Vance are elected, we have a preview of their plans in Project 2025, which is a naked grab for power, a blueprint for a dictatorship. And that's alarming to anyone who cherishes our Constitution. So now Trump is lying again about his connection to it. When you think of our great presidents like Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln, they didn't use fear and hate to pit people against each other. Instead, they tried to bring us together, and their open hearts and minds changed the world. This is how we make progress, not with hateful, divisive leadership, but with Kamala Harris, a woman who has compassion for all human beings, unlike her opponent who lacks intelligence, judgment, and heart. Our society will flourish with a smart, experienced woman who will defend our rights and send Trump back to where he belongs, in his golf cart, lying about his scores. One last thought. At our Passover Seder every year, we like to expand on the traditional stories of Jewish men to include and celebrate Jewish women, rebellious women like Esther and Miriam. Too often the word rebellious is used to describe women who challenge authority, but without that challenge, change rarely happens. So let's all find our own rebellious spirit to fight hard for our country. Your vote is your voice. Let it be heard loud and clear in support of Vice President Kamala Harris, who makes good choices, like her wonderful running mate, Governor Tim Walz. And let's not forget, she married a nice Jewish guy. Thank you all so much. I hope your evening goes as well as I want it to go.
Thank you, Barbara Streisand. Wow, that is not a sentence I ever imagined myself saying. What a privilege it is to have your support and your leadership. And thank you so much for joining us today.
I am now delighted to introduce one of our first speakers to attest to Kamala Harris's commitment to our freedoms. Please welcome Senator Jackie Rosen from Nevada, a state I will be in this weekend, canvassing, knocking on doors. Come join me, please. It is an honor to have you with us, and we are confident you will win your race again this November.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank, I never thought I'd be saying too, thank you, Barbara Streisand. Thank you for always showing us the way and using that amazing voice of yours to lead us and lead us today. And I am so proud to be on with so many of my friends with this gathering of Jewish women in support of my friend Kamala Harris. I am so proud to be the only Jewish woman serving in the United States Senate, to be the only former synagogue president serving in the United States Senate, and, as we'll say, the only Jewish mother serving in the United States Senate. But I don't need to tell you what the past few years have been, how particularly challenging it's been for Jews around the world and Jews in America, their safety, their religion, their freedom, their ability to worship. Harassment, vandalism, the violence, it is all real. And all of these things require compassionate, thoughtful, clear-sighted leaders to address them. I got into office because of the principle of Tikkun Olam, the idea that is up to each one of us to do our part in repairing the world and leaving it better than how we found it. You know, I served with Kamala Harris in the Senate. I got to know her well, got to develop a relationship with her. And I know that Vice President Harris understands the principle of Tikkun Olam, and she is running a campaign that will lead our nation with this ideal in mind. So believe me when I tell you, when it comes to who will best represent the Jewish people in the United States, there is a clear choice in this election. As Vice President Harris, she has been committed, as Vice President, Kamala Harris has been committed to combating anti-Semitism. The work that she and the second gentleman have done to elevate this issue has been a source of strength for Jews across the United States. When I called on the administration to develop a national strategy to combat anti-Semitism, let me tell you, they delivered. When the world needed moral clarity in the face of rising anti-Semitism, the administration stood strong. And when Israel was attacked on October 7th, and the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust, Vice President Harris and this administration rallied around behind an aid package to help Israel defend itself against Hamas, and she has continued to push for the release of all hostages being held in Gaza. And I want to say this Jewish woman was proud on the second night of Seder this year to pass that aid package to give the aid to Israel. The Passover story is real. And when Vice President Harris chose Tim Walz to be her own vice president, she chose a man who literally wrote his master's thesis on Holocaust education. So whether it's solidarity with the Jewish community across the U.S. or steadfast commitment to supporting Israel, especially following the horrific terror attack on October 7th, I know that Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz will understand the challenges that we face, and they're ready and willing to confront these threats to help build a safer country for the world and for the Jewish people. And so, like everyone else here, when I think about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the White House, it fills me with hope. It fills me with hope for our future. All of us feel that. Seeing the surge of support, it's inspiring, and it's exactly what we needed for this election. Because when everyone stands firm and does their part to help this world, tikkun olam, we can move mountains. Jewish women move mountains, I'll tell you that. We can move mountains to make it happen. That's how we're going to win this election. So I'll leave you with this very Jewish phrase. May we go from strength to strength. Thank you. Let's get out the vote, because when we vote, we win. And I welcome everyone to Nevada to help us do that. Thank you.
Senator Rosen, thank you for joining us during this busy election season. I'm Betsy Shear, here with Karen Adler, Susie Stern, Jill Goldenberg, and Talia Ben-Ami. And just before creating this call, a group of women leaders got together and said, you know what? We're going to have to really lead. So we created a Jewish Women for Kamala kickoff fund, raising over $150,000 in just 3 days. And the idea snowballed. We hope that you too will feel inspired and will consider donating tonight. Whether you're a first-time donor or have given before, you are part of this incredible momentum. Every gift matters, whether it's $54 or $100, $1,000, even $10,000. So as you listen to this extraordinary lineup tonight and consider all the freedoms at stake, thank you for considering clicking that donate button in the chat or scanning the QR code when it appears to show the power of Jewish women and to show that you're all in.
Thank you, Betsy. That is an incredibly inspiring number. So for many of you who may not know me, I was born in Iran in the middle of the Iran-Iraq War, among daily bombings and the dreadful morality police, until we fled and eventually gained asylum to be admitted to the United States as religious refugees through an incredible organization called HIAS, which helps refugees resettle around the world and whose mission includes Welcome the Stranger. My entire life, I was raised with this profound sense of gratitude to this country for saving my life. And that patriotism and all the Jewish values of Tikkun Olam have guided who I am and my dedication to activism. I lived the American dream, and I've built a very full life and a career and a beautiful family from truly nothing. And 6 years ago, I had just had my second daughter, and I was home and I was watching TV, and I saw one of the worst things and one of the worst humanitarian violations I'd ever experienced unfold on television. Other families who had fled their homelands and come to the United States for safety were being separated from their children. After what you can only imagine is the worst circumstances of someone having to flee their homeland and go through what they get through to get here, to do the worst possible thing you can to a family and to take their kids away, was just devastating. And I think I saw myself in some of those children and remembered arriving to the United States and being so terrified by the lights in the city and holding my mom's hand, knowing that we would be okay and we would get through this, that we would take that security and stability away from those families in those like most troubling times just broke me. I got on a plane, I went to Torneo, Texas, and went in to see one of the first places where these kids were being held. And I think that's when I knew I had to do everything I could to help repair what felt like such a broken nation that I just loved so much. And so I came back and I took meeting after meeting, really trying to figure out how I could help and what change would look like. And I just kept hearing, if you want real systemic change, we need higher voter turnout. And so I quit my job, brought together 25 of the most amazing women I've ever worked with in my life, and CAA, the talent agency. And together we built I'm a Voter, which is a nonpartisan civic engagement organization. And we've partnered with some of the biggest brands and celebrities and all the things in the world, really just to inspire voter participation and reshape voter identity. And this November, we have a really clear choice between one party who wants to uphold democracy and one who wants to dismantle it. And I can assure you, as someone who has fled a dictatorship for the privilege of living under this democracy, and as a mother of 2 little girls, this is worth fighting for, this is worth protecting, and only one party will make the world a better place for my 2 girls and make sure that they have more rights than I did. And now, I am honored to introduce my friend, Alana Zaitchik, an advocate, speaker, and writer. On October 7th, 6 of her family members were taken hostage, and she has dedicated herself to fighting for their release. Since then, 5 of her family members have been released, and one, David, is still being held hostage. Alana, over to you.
Thank you, Mandana. I'm honored to be here, although I wish I was here for a different reason. I'm an Israeli American, and 6 people in my family, as Mandana said, were violently kidnapped from their home on October 7th. On that horrifying day, my cousin Danielle Aloni, her 5.5-year-old daughter Emilia, as well as my cousin Sharon Aloni Cunio, her husband David Cunio, and their 3-year-old twin girls, Emma and Yuli, were taken captive by Hamas. I love my family, so I have spent the last 314 days tirelessly advocating for them and all of the hostages. And I'm supporting Kamala Harris because her support for us has been unwavering. She has met with other hostage families on many occasions. She has listened to our stories, to our demands, and she has continually reassured us that the safe return of our loved ones is top priority. At the end of November, Danielle, Sharon, and their girls were rescued through a deal which the Biden administration, including Vice President Harris, helped us to secure. But David and 114 other innocent souls, including Americans, remain in the darkness of Hamas captivity, and every breath that they take could very well be their last. Over the last 10 months, 105 hostages have been freed through a deal and a ceasefire agreement, yet only 7 have returned through military extraction, because violence is not the solution. So I am hopeful that the Vice President's commitment to pushing Netanyahu and Hamas to agree to a deal will help us return the remaining hostages and alleviate the unimaginable suffering for Palestinians in Gaza. As an American, as an Israeli, and as a Jew, I am encouraged by Kamala's focus on diplomacy to free my family and all of us from this nightmare, which is precisely what I'm looking for in our next leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana, for sharing what you and your family have been going through. I honestly had to hold back tears, and I've heard a lot of these stories many times, but hearing that from you was very meaningful. So thank you. Your courage is really awe-inspiring. Okay, next up, we have Paula Pretlow, who is a philanthropic and corporate board director, including chair of the board of the Weinberg Foundation. And tonight, Paula is here in her personal capacity, having known Kamala Harris personally for over 20 years.
Thank you. And +1 and 100% to everything that has been set up to now, and in anticipation of what other people are going to say on this call. So, good evening. My sisters, are we fired up? I am. And though I can't see all of you, I imagine you are on this call for the very same reason. I recognize talent when I see talent. I met Kamala Harris more than 20 years ago when I co-hosted one of her very first fundraisers when she was running for district attorney in San Francisco. I shall never forget. It was in the private dining space at Boulevard Restaurant across the street from my office with about 30 people attending. Jump ahead to the California Attorney General race, then to the Senate race, and fast forward to the 2020 presidential race. I know talent. I was there to support her when she announced her bid for president. Then I supported the Biden-Harris campaign, co-hosting house parties and larger gatherings. And now here we are in 2024. Here she is, our candidate for president, successfully wooing audiences across this country. Over these many years, I've watched Kamala mature, step into her undeniable power, and be the voice in the room we needed to hear. The time is now. Her time is now. And she is proving it to the world every day that she is the leader that this country needs. I couldn't be more proud of Kamala, and I couldn't be more proud of every single one of us on this call here to support her and to help usher in the leadership that our country needs and that we absolutely deserve. So thank you, onward, and let's do this.
Wow, Paula, thank you for sharing that history with Kamala, with all of us tonight. I think so many of us on this Zoom just have like the most amazing stories of having met her or seen her and just connect with her so much. Now I am so thrilled to hand it over to my friend, Julie Zebrak. Julie, this call would have never happened without your fierce leadership and unwavering commitment and doing a million things a day to keep us on track. So thank you for being such a force for us.
Thank you, Mandana. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name's Julie Zebrak, and I'm what Kamala Harris would refer to as an OG, or an original supporter. I've been working to support her run for president since 2019 when I co-founded Mamas for Kamala. But today, I'm more than just a mama for Kamala. I'm a Jewish voter, an American Jewish voter. And contrary to what Donald Trump has stated, just because I'm voting for Kamala and Tim, I don't hate Israel and I don't hate my religion. I care deeply about the future of Israel and the safety of Jewish Americans. I don't take for granted the freedom to practice Judaism in the United States, and I don't want to live under Project 2025's white nationalist agenda. That's why having this call is so important. We all know there are differing views within the Jewish community right now, but this call shows American Jews' excitement for electing Kamala Harris. We're here tonight to share that joy with all of you, with our friends, with our families. We know Kamala and Tim have our backs, and tonight with our collective determination and fundraising, we're showing them that we have their backs too. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Harris, and our first call to action tonight is to urge everyone to join the online movement. Follow and amplify Jewish Women for Kamala, Jewish Dems, and the Jewish Women for Kamala Facebook group on social media.
Thank you, Julie and Tiffany. We're now going to focus on women and family issues, which it turns out in 2024, we really are going to have to fight to protect. I want to talk a little bit about me just for a second. I was raised by a single mom, a Jewish mom. Shout out Cheryl Rossum in New York City. She didn't know I was going to do that, but I know she's watching. I love you so much. I started working as a singer in the chorus at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. And I got that job when I was 7 years old. And I started working. And I've never stopped working since. And I've had a lot of jobs since then, both paid and unpaid. I've been a singer, an actor, a director, a writer, a producer. I've been a wife, a mother, the CEO of my production company, and the CEO of my household. Ladies, you know what I mean. And I've also always been a proud Democrat. A few years ago, I stood on the front lines of a very public battle for equal pay. It was terrifying. But historically, on average, working women who are working full-time, year-round, make just 83 cents for every dollar that a man makes. I felt that. I lived it for years, and I was afraid to stand up. But then I did. I stood up. Kamala Harris has never been afraid to stand up for what's right. In fact, during her time as vice president, Harris has championed this issue. Today, women's labor force participation is the highest it's been in decades, and that gender pay gap is the narrowest it has ever been on record. So it pays to stand up. And by the way, I won that fight for equal pay. We need someone in the White House to represent us who aligns with our values, our belief in democracy, our belief in equality, and that person is Kamala Harris.
Emmy, thank you so much for that fight for equal pay. Betsy here again. And if you also want democracy to survive, and if you care about the economy thriving for all, click that donate button in the chat or scan the QR code now to ensure everyone has access to opportunity and access to the ballot box. And for those of you who are on YouTube, please know that we are about to get your QR code and your link available for you. Please hang tight. It will be there soon. Thank you.
Unmute, unmute, unmute. Okay.
Technical difficulty.
Now, I want to introduce Sheila Katz, a women's rights activist and faith leader who is here in her personal capacity, Dr. Eve Feinberg, an OBGYN professor and IVF expert, and Hannah Bromfman, angel investor, influencer, and mom, to talk more about our freedoms at stake.
Hi, everyone. I'm here as a feminist, as an activist, as a Zionist, and a proud Jewish woman. And if there's one thing I'm certain about, after advocating with the Jewish community for close to 2 decades, it's that Jewish women get shit done. This election is crucial for us as women and as Jews in America. Our religious freedom, our bodily autonomy, our access to healthcare, including abortion, which Judaism not only permits, but requires when the pregnant person's life is at risk, are all on the line. We are voting for our right to birth control, IVF, affordable childcare, paid family leave, and the recognition that we are each more than our reproductive abilities. We deserve to be seen and counted as full human beings, worthy of safety, dignity, equity, and equal pay. In this week's Torah portion, Moses reiterates the 10 Commandments, sharing a vision of the just world we are called to build. Tonight, 30,000 strong, we stand united as Jewish women, committed to voting for the leader who will champion our collective vision for a world where our rights are non-negotiable, our dignity is upheld, and our voices and bodies are fully valued. Let us keep showing up and lifting each other up higher between now and November to shatter the ultimate glass ceiling and proudly declare Madam President to Kamala Harris. Dr. Eve, over to you.
Thank you. I am voting for Kamala Harris because she supports reproductive rights and the right to IVF for all people. President Trump appointed 3 Supreme Court justices who have done immense damage to women's reproductive rights and bodily autonomy. I'm a reproductive endocrinologist and infertility specialist, and also the president and founder of the nonprofit, the Chicago Coalition for Family Building. My life's work is to increase access to infertility treatment, including IVF for all people who need to build their families. IVF is at risk right now. Since our inception in 2013, the Chicago Coalition has granted over $2 million to date, and we've had 103 babies born from our work for those who cannot afford access to treatment. We work tirelessly every day to fundraise. Access to IVF is more important today than it ever has been. Voting for Kamala Harris is a vote to protect women's freedom to pursue IVF and to increase access to IVF for all people. A vote for Kamala Harris is also a vote against Project 2025. From a reproductive healthcare standpoint, Project 2025 should actually be named Project 1825 because it's a giant step backwards for women. One of the central themes of Project 2025 is protecting children. And by children, they also mean a fertilized egg or embryo. Let's be clear, a human embryo has the potential to become a child, but absolutely should not be given the same moral or legal status as an actual child. Embryos stop growing every single day, both when pregnancies are conceived naturally or when pregnancies are conceived through in vitro fertilization. Criminalizing the destruction of human embryos will cause fertility clinics to shut down for fear of being charged with manslaughter, as we recently saw due to the GOP efforts in Alabama. This is a potential slippery slope towards making IVF illegal or severely restricting how we all practice safe IVF care. Vote to protect IVF and vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. On to you, Hannah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm calling in tonight from Canada, the same place I was the summer of 2020 when Kamala personally called my cottage and asked me to DJ the fundraising event to kick off the campaign for Biden and Harris back in 2020. And I am so grateful. I was a yes then and obviously a yes now. And, you know, echoing everything that has already been said this evening, but this administration has long championed policies to improve maternal health and equity, and addressing the maternal mortality and morbidity crisis is a key priority for their administration. Vice President Harris is issuing a nationwide call to action to both public and private sectors to help improve health outcomes for parents and infants in the United States. Governor Waltz is someone who's passed paid leave in his state, which needs to be passed nationally. As a Black Jewish mother who has given birth in this climate, I can tell you, I am lucky to not be a part of these horrifying statistics. I want my administration to value my life. And I can tell you right now that I don't feel that Trump or Vance values any woman's life. As a mom, I want my kids to go to school without worrying about a school shooting. And I want my daughter to grow up in a world where she has the same, if not more, rights as her grandmother. If you value women's rights and bodily autonomy, then you know what it needs to be this November.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So much, Sheila, Eve, and Hannah. It's Betsy again, the designated nudge. Now, if everyone in this call is also worried about abortion rights, IVF, or even access to birth control, click that donate button or scan the QR code now to prevent government interference in your health care. It's coming up now. I'll give you a minute and then I'll continue. Because if you thought you'd already fought and won those battles, click that button or scan that code to secure the rights for your daughters and your granddaughters to be free to make the decisions about their own bodies. They shouldn't have to fight those battles again.
Thank you, Betsy. It's Tiffany again. Just a reminder for everyone on the call, our second call to action. The Democratic National Convention starts next Monday, and we can't wait to celebrate. So let's show our excitement by coming together. You can host or attend a DNC convention party. We'll be sending you all kinds of information on just how to do that. And you can make it a memorable night with your family and friends. It's also a really great way to build community. So let's make next week a week of unity and celebration.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. And Eve, I just wanted to say I had both of my kids because of IVF. I would not be a mother today.
Me too.
Had it not been for IVF, and I can't.
Two of three of mine.
Cannot imagine taking that right away from other families in America to be parents. So, okay, now we have such a fun treat. So thrilled to call on Susie Essman, who you all know as Susie from Curb Your Enthusiasm, an American actress, comedian, writer, mensch, and television producer.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here. And, you know, when you're a comic and you're doing a roast or something like that, you always want to go on first so everybody doesn't cover your topics. Everything I was going to say has been said already. So I could name call, as many of you know, I'm really good at it. You know, I could call him a felon, a rapist, a Jew hater, an icky, creepy guy, a poster boy for small dick behavior. But I'm not going to go there because we're better than that. And anyway, soon he's going to be irrelevant. He will be a footnote, an afterthought. You know that fly in your kitchen that's buzzing around? It's like, bzz, 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 and you start a battle with it. And like, finally, it's like you can't win and it keeps on moving and moving, but finally it lands on the windowsill and splat, and you got it and you won and it feels so good. That's what we're going to feel like on November 5th, on November 6th, actually, because now we have Kamala, and Kamala is a gift. We've been given this rare opportunity to elect an amazing woman to lead our country. We've got to grab this opportunity. She's smart, she's authentic, she's engaged, she's experienced, she's compassionate, she's strong, and she's going to protect the rights for all Americans, not just Jewish women, all of us. Now, my eggs, you know, they're old and decrepit at this point. but I care about all of you younger women. And I have 3 daughters. Although truth be told, they're my stepdaughters. So you know that's what makes me a childless cat lady, even though I'm allergic to cats. But Kamala is going to protect your right to control your own bodies. She hears us. She knows us. And yes, Kamala laughs. She is not a Fabissina Punham. This is a woman filled with the life force and humanity. Remember how dark everything felt a month ago? Do you remember that? I remember being in such a state of despair and feeling hopeless. And all my friends are talking about where are we going to move and we're going to flee. And I was like, I don't want to move. I love my life. I love living here. And it was just like a horrible, horrible feeling. Well, now we've been given this lifeline, and it's time for us to march towards the light. We can't bask in it yet because we have a lot of work to do, but we have to move forward, and we have to just give, and give some more. Give your money, give your time, give your energy, volunteer, register people to vote. And after they're registered, get those people to the polls. And most of all, embrace your power. Be the badass Jewesses that I know you all are. And when we fight, we win. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Susie. Betsy's back, and I'm going to pause while we put up the QR code and leave it there for 30 seconds, okay? Then I'll be right back. Okay. And by the way, for those of you who are on YouTube, and there are thousands of you because we exceeded the Zoom limit, you can go to all lowercase jewishdems.org/Women for Kamala, all lowercase, and you can make your contribution there. But oh my gosh, is it not great to laugh, to feel joy, to hope again? So even if you have given before, if you really want to make sure that we don't have a felon, rapist, traitor in the White House, click that donate button in the chat or on that link, or scan the QR code that you have now. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Betsy. And thank you, Susie, so much. Fabissina Punham, really, that really put me over the edge. I loved it. Thank you. And now we get to hear from Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz from Florida, a champion for women and for Israel.
Thank you so much. It is so wonderful to be with so many Jewish women in this amazing moment of nachas, hope, and promise. Kamala is so engaging, and her enthusiasm is contagious. Now tell me, is there anyone on this call who doesn't just want to sit in kibbutz with Kamala for a couple of hours? I had the chance to do that, not for a couple of hours, but on numerous occasions, and she's really as amazing as she seems. And my good friend Tim Walz, what a wonderful man. His stories as a teacher and a coach are so moving and impressive. Our daughters grew up friends as congressional kids, and he and Gwen are such incredible parents. His mentoring, passion, and empathy are the real Tim. I can fully vouch that he is a true mensch. Now, let's be real for a second. Politics aside, none of us would want to spend 5 minutes with Donald Trump or J.D. Vance. But Kamala and Tim Walz, they're just good people, and it's what America's politics needs right now. Honesty, hope, nachas, laughter, and these two bring so much of it. We see it at the rallies, and I feel it on this call, and it's partly because Vice President Harris shares so many of the Jewish values that we were raised on. This woman is leading the fight to protect our abortion rights, the single most critical issue of our personal lives right now as women. She's in the trenches for us, our sisters and our daughters. And she's also, importantly, worked with Joe Biden to implement the first ever national strategy to counter anti-Semitism, working alongside her husband, Doug Emhoff, the first Jewish spouse in the White House. She and Joe also boosted funding for nonprofit security grants to keep our synagogues, schools, and communities safe. And Kamala has been a steady consistent, and strong ally for Israel. And she put a bright spotlight on the horrific gender-based violence Hamas perpetrated on October 7th, using the White House as a platform to highlight the horrors that took place that day. So when our parents talk to us around the dinner table about Tikkun Olam like mine did, repairing the world, Kamala Harris embodies that value in both deeds and action, fighting for voting rights, stronger health care, protecting the planet for those who come after us. She gets it. And I couldn't be more excited about this ticket, and the sprint we've all been on has been fun. I'm inspired by her, Doug, Tim, and all of you on this call. So I ask all of you tonight to give and to dig deep. We all need to part with our most precious resource, which is our time, but we need to part with some resources too, because we need to make sure that we don't get outspent and that we've got as much money on the ground to get people out to vote on November 5th so that we can make sure she is the next president of the United States. So I ask all of you, dig deep. Don't forget 2016, my friends, when this madman preyed on our confidence and excitement to elect the first woman president and somehow crept into the White House. We're all gearing up for a fun, joy-filled election day with a big win. None of us wants to see all the progress that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just delivered to be flushed down the toilet. So let's all get our keppies in the game and get Kamala in the White House, because I know you all agree with me on this. We are not going back. We're not going back. So now let's go win this.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz. Like you said, we are not going back. So for our third call to action, we want to make sure everyone on this call has the information you need to talk to your friends and family about all the issues at stake this election cycle. You can sign up with Jewish Women for Kamala, JDCA, and Kamala News Jews Can Use, say that 5 times fast, in order to receive really useful information and all the ways that you can get involved this election season.
Now we are going to talk about voting, which, as you know, is a subject that is very, very close to my heart. Please make sure you are registered and that you have a plan to vote. You can text voter via DER to 26797 or go to iamavoter.com to check your registration. Even if you think you're registered, please confirm that you are registered. And with that, I introduce you to youth voting expert Eliza Lifshitz and Ann Lewis, an icon in the Democratic Party on all things Jewish and Israel, as well as an expert on the history of the suffragette movement.
Thank you all for having me tonight. My name is Eliza Lifshitz, and I am the Director of Strategy at Voters of Tomorrow. We are a Gen Z-led organization that engages our generation in politics and government. I also help lead Young Jewish Women for Kamala. 2016 was the first election Gen Z was eligible to vote in, and it was the first time I got to cast a ballot. The devastation we felt that election night and the distrust for our institutions that we have felt since define my generation to this day. We are sick and tired of watching the rights that our parents and our grandparents fought for, chipped away, and watching our country and community be torn apart by division. My generation has been in fight or flight mode for much of our adult lives, and that is no way to tackle our most pressing political issues, especially the ones that require long-term investment. We need bold action against climate change and gun violence. We need protections for abortion care and the LGBTQ+ community. And we need strong leaders who understand that fighting anti-Semitism means bringing Americans closer together, not tearing them apart for political theater. That's why I cannot contain my excitement to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz this November. Vice President Harris not only offers a positive and courageous vision for the future, she is also fighting to protect and build upon our most basic freedoms, our freedom to vote in fair elections, our freedom to bodily autonomy, and our freedom to create futures and families that reflect our full selves. Gen Z is eager to elect the first woman president, and it is up to all of us to ensure that enthusiasm translates into votes. Whatever state you're organizing in, ask yourself, how can I uplift and empower young voters and invest in the next generation of leaders? As young Jewish women, we need a president that not only stands with our community, but also embodies our values. That's why I'm fired up to help elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and work to ensure Gen Z shows up this November. Thank you so much. Anne?
Thank you, Elisa. I'm here to say thank you for the women who fought for our right to vote. It wasn't easy. They organized, strategized, mobilized, even while they were being laughed at, screamed at, and even jailed. Women went door to door, explaining how the vote could make a difference. They climbed the rickety steps of tenement buildings, stood on ladders outside factories, talking to workers on their way home. The vote can help protect our families, they said. With the vote, we can demand clean food and water for our children and better working conditions for ourselves. Jewish women were among the leaders. Rosie Schneiderman spoke for the victims of the Triangle Fire, where a dangerous factory cost women's lives. Maud Nathan came up with publicity ideas like women as living statues in store windows holding suffrage signs. They worked with male allies like Rabbi Stephen Wise, who marched in suffrage parades with his son. The women who won the vote used every means they could to explain how the power of the vote would make a difference. They were right then and now. Every one of those issues needs our vote today. Our health, our lives, our families' well-being, and our country's future. The women who fought for suffrage never let opposition stop them. They made our power possible. Now it's up to us.
Now I think we're going to put that QR code up once more so you can scan it with your phones or your tablets or your Google glasses if you have those.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm off.
Okay, have we scanned? Okay, and now we're gonna have a special treat from two-time Tony Award winner Shayna Taub of Suffs, the Broadway musical.
Hi everyone, my name is Shayna Taub. I'm so sorry I can't be live on the Zoom with you tonight. I'm recording this video message because as you're watching this, I'm on stage in my show Suffs on Broadway, which is about the most Jewish excuse I can think of. Suffs tells the story of American women who fought for our right to vote just over a century ago. They protested, they marched, they went on hunger strikes and were force-fed in prison. They fought relentlessly for decades so their daughters and granddaughters could be free to determine their own futures. To me, they embodied the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, of repairing the broken world and leaving it better than we found it. And that is why I feel so good about voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. To me, she also embodies the spirit of tikkun olam, and I know she's gonna fight like hell for the next generation's rights to leave our country and our planet better than she found it. I was lucky to be there last year when she hosted a Rosh Hashanah reception at her home, and I heard her quote the Talmud, the same quote I use as an epigraph for Suffs, saying, "You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it." The Suffs knew, Kamala Harris knows, and we know we won't finish the fights for freedom and equality in one election or in one lifetime. The work will never be over, but that doesn't absolve us from taking action today. The Suffs were a messy, imperfect coalition of stubborn, ambitious, complicated, loud women, just like us Jewish broads, and they did not agree on everything. I suspect many of us on this call might have very different views on various issues, but we won't let that get the better of us, not when the stakes are this high. We work together anyway, because the future demands that we fight for it now. I might be preaching the choir here, but as Tim Waltz said the other day, the choir needs to sing. So please harness all the hope and excitement you're feeling tonight and turn it into action. Knock on doors, phone bank, donate. Every little bit counts. Keep showing up. And if you need a song to get you through, I'll leave you with just a little bit of our finale from Suffs called Keep Marching. The path will be twisted and risky and slow, but keep marching, keep marching. Will you fail or prevail? Well, you may never know. But keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made right if we keep marching on.
Oh, that was awesome. Thank you so much. It's me again, and I'm reminding you of our fourth call to action tonight. Check your voter registration. I checked mine just 3 weeks ago, and it turns out I had quite a few updates I needed to make. So please, please, please check yours by texting voter to 26797 right now. It's super easy. It takes 2 seconds, and make sure that everyone you know checks theirs as well, so that we can all make sure that our vote is counted this November.
Now we get to hear from someone who knows personally how Kamala Harris has fought and will continue to fight for our freedoms. Over to Haley Soifer, CEO of Jewish Democratic Council of America and a former national security advisor to then Senator Kamala Harris.
Thank you so much. I am Haley Soifer, CEO of JDCA and JDCA PAC, former national security advisor for then Senator Harris, and a proud Jewish woman for Kamala. In 2017, I accompanied then Senator Harris and Doug Emhoff on a trip to Israel. It was her third trip and his first. As we approached the kotel for the first time, she reached in her pocket and grabbed a kippah to place on Doug's head. It was meaningful for both of them, and she even had the clips to ensure that it was secure. Similarly, she's done everything in her power to ensure the security of Israel, first in the Senate and now in the White House, because this is an issue that is meaningful and critically important for her. Fast forward 5 years later to October 2022, when I received a surprise phone call from an unknown number. It wasn't a call I was expecting from my former boss, since she was now Vice President of the United States. It was at this time that Kanye West had gone DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people. She wanted to know how I was doing, how we as Jews were feeling, and what she could do to help. This was when no one was watching, when no cameras were on, which is really the true test of character, and demonstrated her commitment to the safety and the security of the Jewish people. As the political home of Jewish voters, JDCA and JDCA PAC are doing everything in our power to elect Democrats who share our Jewish and American values, including defending democracy and abortion rights, combating anti-Semitism, and standing with Israel. And no one epitomizes this more in this moment than Vice President Harris. She stands with us and we stand with her. And we're doing the work required to elect her the next president of the United States in 81 days. So for our fifth call to action, join us. Connect with Jewish voters by signing up with JDCA for text and phone banks, which are all virtual, and for our Travelers program to get out the vote on the ground, all in swing states. Join us to target Jewish voters where, when, and how it matters the most, 24/6. We do rest for the Sabbath, but that's all. So whether you're a mamala for Kamala or mensch ready to get in the trenches, join us. We have the ability to shape the outcome of this election, and it is up to all of us to ensure that she wins in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Haley. I'm so grateful for our friendship, and you've been the most amazing phone a friend through so much of the election stuff. For anyone watching on YouTube, please go to jewishdems.org/women-for-Kamala to find all the links that you need. I am now honored to hand it over to Sarah Hurwitz, Mel Nathan, and Rebecca Fisher to talk more about how Kamala Harris will protect our freedoms. Sarah Horowitz is the author of Here All Along and a former head speechwriter for First Lady Michelle Obama. Mel Nathan is a human rights advocate and the co-founder of Jewish Women for Kamala Harris Facebook group. And Rebecca Fisher is the executive director at New Yorkers Against Gun Violence.
So I'm writing a second book now, and it's about the unfortunately timely issue of how anti-Semitism has shaped Jewish identity. And I have been spending a lot of time immersed in Jewish history. And I've been thinking a lot about the present in light of that history. And I have to tell you, when I saw former President Trump denouncing Jews who vote for Democrats, claiming that we hate Judaism, that we hate Israel, implying that we're somehow disloyal to our own tradition, I thought about history. And I thought about what's happened when leaders have felt entitled to divide Jews up into good Jews and bad Jews and treat us accordingly. And it terrified me. And when I heard his vice presidential pick denouncing women for their life choices, essentially just dividing us up into good women and bad women and claiming the right to control our bodies, that terrified me too. And when I see both of these men trashing our most sacred democratic institutions, I think about what happens to Jews when dictators rise up and the rule of law breaks down. And if anyone thinks that the collapse of American democracy will be good for our allies, if you think an America in chaos will be good for Israel, or an erratic, reckless man in the White House will be good for Israel, with all due respect, I think you're mistaken. So this is not a hard choice. In this election, I will be choosing the candidate who has spent her entire career fighting for democracy and the rule of law, and who respects our freedom to be whatever kind of Jews and whatever kind of women we want to be. And I am so proud to be on this Zoom with thousands of fabulous women who are fabulous Jews. And I know that together, nothing can stop us from electing Kamala Harris as our next president. Thank you. Mel, over to you.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everybody. I am Melanie Nathan, the co-founder, together with Carol Goldman of the Facebook group, Jewish Women for Kamala Harris. With almost 25,000 Jewish women in just 3 weeks, we are delighted to be co-sponsoring this call. The Facebook group is a home for a diverse array of views, fostering dialogue, promoting information that asserts truth, and activating to elect Kamala Harris as Madam President to the White House. And a great big thank you to you all. Now, as former Vice President of San Francisco Pride and as formerly a Human Rights Commissioner on the Marin Human Rights Commission, I was privy to Kamala Harris as the ultimate champion for LGBTQ rights. She led the fight against LGBTQ hate crimes in San Francisco. When marriage equality was attained in California, within minutes, a very joyful Attorney General Harris didn't hesitate to call San Francisco down to City Hall saying, let's get married, and they did. She has presided as vice president in the most pro-LGBTQ administration in US history. Now, make no mistake, this is a time of great insecurity for many of us, given the terrifying alternative. Vice President Kamala Harris is the only answer to the threat we have already seen from the Supreme Court and the deadly legislation against our trans community state by state. It is with absolute certainty that a Harris-Walz administration will ensure reform and secure our right to love who we choose, and finally cement the long-fought fight for full equality that freedom insists upon. Thank you for listening, and let's get this done.
Thanks, Mel. My name is Rebecca Fisher, and I'm the Executive Director of New Yorkers Against Gun Violence. I'm also a proud Jewish woman and Jewish American, and it is an immense privilege to be here tonight to tell you why I'm voting for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. We all know the saying that there's only 6 degrees of separation between all people. And my mother has always said that in the Jewish community, there's really only 2 or 3 degrees. But as a gun violence activist and leader, I need to ask you all this question. How many degrees of separation are you from someone who's been impacted by gun violence? Chances are, not many degrees. We all deserve a country free from gun violence, and there is no question about it. Kamala Harris is the president who will lead the way and tackle this public health crisis. During Harris's term as vice president, Gun violence and violent crime has gone down nationally, and Harris has led the way. Harris leads the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. I've had the privilege of meeting with this office many times, including with high school students from our youth program. And I can tell you this White House is listening and working hard on real solutions. Under Harris's leadership, the federal government has allocated billions of dollars and resources to survivors of gun violence, bolstered public safety, and signed common sense gun bills into law. On the other hand, Trump stacked the Supreme Court with gun rights extremists and vows to overhaul strong gun laws. Harris demands accountability from gun dealers and the highest drivers of crime, and Trump drives profits into the gun industry's bank accounts. Harris wants to ban assault weapons, weapons of war that are killing our children at school, and Donald Trump wants to ban books and arm teachers. We are living in extreme and polarizing times, and we all fear the rise in anti-Semitism, racism, and all forms of discrimination. The last thing we need is more people in conflict and crisis with guns. If you want to be safer in your community, safer at school or on your college campus, safer in your synagogue or your place of worship, safer anywhere in America, then vote for Kamala Harris. I'm a proud Jewish woman, and I will be voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in November. I'm asking you to help organize our communities to vote for Harris Walz. Our lives and our children's lives depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you. People watching on YouTube can go to jewishdems.org/women-for-Kamala to find all the links. That's jewishdems.org/women-for-Kamala. Now we have another short video to share from our friend, comedian, actor, and writer, Judy Gold.
Hey everyone, I'm Judy Gold, and I'm so excited to be here. Anyway, I'm a very, 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 very proud Jewish woman for Kamala, and am so fired up about our next president of the United States. You know, just to learn a little bit about me, I grew up in the great state, as Rachel Maddow would say, the great state of New Jersey. My grandmother would come to visit us on the weekends, and I shared a bedroom with her. And my grandmother was born in 1896, so she was 24 when she got the right to vote, when women got the right to vote. And I learned so much from her, so much about fighting for what's right and fighting for the freedoms and rights we all deserve. And I know that is what Kamala is going to do. So I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about freedom. As a member of the LGBTQIA, I'm going to stop there because otherwise that'll take up the rest of the Zoom. So I believe in the freedom to love who you love, the freedom to marry who you want to marry, the freedom to have autonomy over your body, the freedom of choice, to make your own choices, the freedom to practice whatever religion you want to practice, the freedom, read any goddamn book, any book you want, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and mostly the freedom to vote, the freedom to have a voice. And that's what voting does. It gives you a voice. And we have a choice, and it's Kamala. And so get all your Jewish friends out to vote for Kamala. And get all your non-Jewish friends out to vote for Kamala. Because you know what? We're going to win this damn thing. And one more thing. Shalom.
And now I have the honor of passing the mic to Congresswoman Kathy Manning, whom all of you know as a powerhouse, beloved Jewish leader.
Thanks so much. I'm Kathy Manning. I am so proud to represent North Carolina's 6th District in the U.S. Congress, and I am a proud Jewish woman for Kamala. I am thrilled to be part of this historic, amazing call with remarkable Jewish women and share with you my 3 reasons why we must elect Kamala Harris. Since coming to Congress, I have worked tirelessly on 3 issues that are critical to our Jewish community. And on each of these issues, Kamala Harris is a true partner and a friend. First, I've worked hard to get ahead of the extreme Republicans' attacks on our reproductive freedom by introducing my Right to Contraception Act, a bill that would create a federal right for women to use and medical providers to prescribe the full range of FDA-approved birth control. And when my bill got to the House floor for a vote, 195 Republicans voted against it. So make no mistake about what extreme Republicans plan to do. They don't just want to outlaw abortion nationwide. They want to control all of our reproductive decisions, including birth control. Kamala Harris has been a strong and vocal advocate for the freedom of women to make their own reproductive decisions, and we can count on her to continue this fight. Second, as co-chair of the House Bipartisan Task Force to combat anti-Semitism, I have worked to combat the appalling rise of anti-Semitism across our country, and especially on college campuses. Kamala has been an incredible leader in this fight. She played a key role in drafting the first ever national strategy to counter anti-Semitism. The strategy is important, it's comprehensive, and it is already having an impact. Thanks to her leadership, the Department of Education not only stepped up the effort to hold colleges accountable for their failure to keep Jewish students safe, they have also issued new guidelines for colleges to follow to counter anti-Semitism on campuses. And we know this issue is personal to Kamala and her husband, Doug, who, as second gentleman, has worked tirelessly to fight anti-Semitism with Kamala's full support and encouragement. I've had the chance to work with Doug on this issue, and he is passionate about this fight. And third, as the vice-ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, I have worked to support the U.S.-Israel relationship and to stand with Israel in its time of need. And let me assure you, Kamala Harris has been a strong supporter of Israel, and she understands the critical importance of Israel to the United States. She has always made it clear that Israel has the right to defend itself, and she played a critical role in passing the National Security Supplemental Package, which provided Israel with $15 billion in supplemental aid. And she personally called members of Congress to ensure the supplemental would pass. Kamala has not only met with hostage families, she convened the first ever White House meeting on conflict-related sexual violence to shine a light on Hamas's horrific use of sexual violence against Israelis on October 7th. She has met and worked with Israeli leaders ranging from Prime Minister Netanyahu to President Herzog to Benny Gantz, and she has joined more than 20 calls with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I am confident Kamala will be a strong defender of Israel at a time when we need thoughtful and strategic leadership. Let me close by saying I'm with Kamala because Kamala is with us on these three critical issues: women's reproductive freedom, the fight against anti-Semitism, and the strong support of the Jewish and democratic state of Israel. She is in this fight for us, so let's do everything we can. We need to give, we need to register voters, we need to get everyone out to vote, so we win this fight to elect Kamala Harris, President of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Manning. Yes, Kamala Harris has our backs. So Tiffany, over to you to remind us how we can have hers. So let's roll up our sleeves and win.
Absolutely. I'm back for a final time tonight, and I need everyone on this call to commit to at least one item. You can do more, but at least one. So donate tonight. As Susie Essman said, give, give, give in any amount. Seriously, every dollar, every donor counts. You can also host or attend a watch party during next week's DNC convention. Connect with voters through your local campaign field office, through Jewish Women for Kamala or JDCA. Join the online movement and please amplify all of the amazing content that's going to be coming out. It's important to know what to say and how to engage with others by using the resources that we'll be sharing, and make sure that you and the people you love are registered to vote. And finally, look for a follow-up email from us tomorrow with all the information and the links on all the ways you can get involved.
Thank you to everyone who has joined us tonight and who is fired up to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz this November. To our brothers and sisters in Israel who are facing very terrifying threats, we are thinking of you and sending you our love. A special shout outs to the huge team who made tonight happen. Bobby Saperstein, Gideon Eichenwald, Talia Ben-Ami, Tiffany Harris, Rabbi Julie Schoenfeld, Jamie Kantorowitz, Julie Zebrak, Betsy Shear, Ann Lewis, Karen Adler, Sheila Katz, Jill Goldenberg, Susie Stern, Mel Nathan, Carol Goldman, Jenny Bettmeyer, and JVC, and 2 members of my team, Sarah Reich and Bruna Detsky.
What a night. Thank you all for being here. And as we close out, feeling incredibly fired up, incredibly inspired, and incredibly connected, we are honored to hear from Rabbi Julie Schoenfeld.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this incredibly uplifting evening. Judaism is very consistent in allowing us to bring our whole selves with us everywhere. Every time we pray our gratitude, and we also call out and express our deepest hopes and wishes. And so in that spirit, knowing this is a very consequential day for hostage negotiations, and we must bring them home, I bring my love and my concern for the hostages with me as I express my incredible gratitude to Vice President Kamala Harris for the way in which she brings such a life force and so much joy into our political discourse. We have heard from incredible women tonight, and I am, and we are all fired up to work in the coming days to protect our precious freedoms, to protect all of our freedoms. The U.S. Declaration of Independence speaks in the language of rights, and among others, it affirms our right to pursue our own happiness. The Hebrew Bible speaks in the language of obligations, and it says, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. We have an obligation to serve with gladness. So when people say that Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz have brought the joyfulness back to American politics, we Jewish women know that we are in the right place. In an era in which we have been told that outrage is the only viral emotion, we know that we must be together brave enough, committed enough, confident enough to bring our love and our laughter and joy with us as we go out to defend our rights and to fulfill our obligations. We will hear the call to gladness of the biblical prophets of the past, and we will take our cues from our next president, Kamala Harris, who lets no one stifle her joyful laugh or stand in her self-assured way. We will bring this laughter and this gladness at times and places of our choice. We will choose. We are going to fight hard, and when we win together, we are going to be happy. Together we will win. Thank you all. Good night.